Welcome to the Popish Plot. I'm Nate.
I'm Jessica.
And I'm Mike.
And today we're here to talk about saintly superpower. Following reviving of the dead, supernatural convincing.
Ooh.
Yes.
All right. I'm going to need to know details about what you mean by that. Because I just imagine, like winning at a game of logic with Casper the Friendly Ghost. Which I am 99% sure no saint did. But if so, I want to learn more.
So, Saint Catherine of Alexandria was a young woman who lived during the early persecutions of the church.
Yep.
And I assume in Alexandria.
And really didn't like what the Roman emperor was doing.
What with the killing of the
Christians?
Christians?
What with the killing of the Christians and whatnot. And decided that she was going to go and talk with him as her family was traveling to Rome. And she was going to tell him why he should not be doing that.
I'm going to go give the man God what for.
Good news is she got to have her audience with the emperor. Bad news is she didn't convert him. But
I mean, it
doesn't sound that super convincing.
Well, hang on.
I'm jumping to conclusions.
As a result of her attempt, she was
It's downstairs.
As a result of her attempt, she was put into prison because she's one of those filthy Christians.
Emperors tend to do that.
But while she was there, she literally converted everybody else.
Boom.
Pretty much anybody that came to see her walked away thinking, I think this Christianity thing sounds right.
Well, and
in the end, she was put to death. But she converted a great number of people while she was during the short time that she was in prison.
Okay, death is not the worst thing that can happen to a Christian. I say that as someone who lives securely in the West, but still.
I was watching a video today of people answering questions about their tribal village in Pakistan, and one was joking about how the doctor lived right next to the cemetery because if you're healed, you go out the front door. If you don't, you go out the back. Well, death's not the worst thing. And I'm like, that is a refreshing way of looking at it. We've been had many comments from people around the world who are like, there was a doctor whose office was right next to the cemetery.
Well, again, if you're a doctor... See, we as a society, we live very divorced from death. If you're a doctor, you have to face it on a fairly regular basis.
But
especially before you have modern medicine.
I feel like she wasn't the only saint who did similar things, because, I mean...
There are multiple examples.
I'm sure there were more. That was the one I found, but...
At least two in the Bible alone who either gave an impassioned speech that explained salvation history, or had jailers that were concerned that he was going to run away and then, didn't and converted them.
Well, there was Paul.
That's great. When Paul's like, no, don't kill yourself, dude. We're still here. And then they all convert. It's great. No, but even, was it 2015?
It was the Peter one, right?
No, it's Paul.
Oh, was it? Okay.
But 2015, I think it was, when the, ISIS and the Maghreb decided killed the Coptic Martyrs. Kill a guy. The last guy, not a Copt. I think he was Ghanan. He wasn't a Christian until the jihadis were about to cut off his head. And he said, well, their God, the faith that they had, their God is my God. So instead of letting him go. So, people who are strong in the faith, who truly follow Christ, who don't follow Christ in the way where they try to get attention for themselves, where they're trying to, blow a horn before themselves in the street, look at me and the good works I'm doing, but people who just genuinely follow the Lord, it's incredibly attractive. Even if it gets your head cut off.
Yes. And on that, there were various other martyrs who had similar stories. The number of martyrs who were Roman military who were like, well, they made us go and kill all these Christians. And
those guys just took it.
Unlike our God King, who's a whiny baby. So we decided that clearly they were following a better guy. And we stood out on the ice float with them.
I forget his name, but there was a guy who was an actor. He was doing a play mocking the Christians. And one day he was...
The patron saint of comedians?
Yeah. St. Thespis, yes. And one day he was just doing this, and No, the fake baptism took. Shortly thereafter, martyred. But
All right. So moving on, we get to some of the more interesting ones that Jess was looking for. So let's talk about Saint Denis of Paris.
Oh, the ultimate Halloween costume for when you want to look tall. You just build the structure up.
very close to my heart because I was baptized on Saint Denis Day.
Yes. Saint Denis was beheaded. I don't recall for what.
I assume probably for being a Christian.
Probably for being a Christian, or just being being an uppity curmudgeon who didn't like the way all the sinners in town were doing things.
His original name isn't Dennis. His original name is Dionysus.
Ah, okay.
In those days.
Yes, but head gets cut off, and the body just goes and picks up the head and carries it out of town, preaching the entire way.
I feel like if there's not a patron saint of advertising, one of these ones that goes and has their head cut off and then just walks around until they lay down where they want their shrine should be, because that is great. I'm sorry, what? I'm on the edge of town here. No, we're going to the dead center. That's where I'm going to fall.
There's more than one example of this. It's glorious.
Not only is there more than one example, it has happened so many times that they had to actually go and give it a name.
Yeah, cephalophore. Carry your own head. Mm-hmm. No, but like you go to Paris today, you're going to go to the Cathedral of Saint Denis, and that's where he died.
I bet it's in a good location given the time.
Well, it is now. City built up around it.
Following that, as if you could follow that act.
I mean, you could.
Saint Columbanus, the Beastmaster.
The Beastmaster.
I need to know more about their story, because if anyone was going to be a Beastmaster, I assumed it would be St. Francis.
Also a Beastmaster, but
exiled into the wilds to be killed by all of the dangerous wild animals.
Torn apart by beasts and whatnot.
Bears and lions and things like that.
Oh my.
Oh my. And begins preaching to the beasts. And all the wild animals, being good Christians, being good God-fearers, what they are, decide to take a knee and pay attention.
I mean,
grab a pew, bears.
I will give him that. St. Francis had the wolf that he talked into, essentially.
Don't eat me.
Wandering around town asking for donations.
Don't eat me. Live on the word.
But
St. Martin de Porres essentially was Cinderella.
With the mice.
Mm-hmm.
St. Anthony of Padua was like, fine, you guys don't listen to me, I'm going to preach to the fish. What did the fish do? The fish listened.
Mm-hmm. I have to wonder,
Beastmaster.
What conversations like St. Martin de Porres and St. Gertrude of Nivelle have with each other, because one's in charge of mice and one's in charge of cats. And she got in charge of cats because convents and monasteries kept cats to get rid of the mice.
Yep, but they're in heaven now, and the mice and the cats are provided that they are there, are currently perfected and are therefore living in a perfect unison with each other.
Yeah, but I'm just, well, see, what I did was I got all the mice to help me do my chores. And then she's like, I got cats. They got rid of the mice, and they'd sit in your lap and purr.
Well, because we had really unhelpful mice. We had satanic mice, so the cats had to eat them.
Yes.
And Martin Porres was like, I get that. Most of the mice weren't good, just these few mice. They're great.
So another one that Jess will enjoy.
Plus, you can baptize a mouse. You can't baptize a cat. Neither one is valid, but the cat is going to be totally much more mad.
Another one that Jess will appreciate on the indestructibility.
Tigers love swimming.
Invulnerability to poison. Saint Benedict. People want to kill him off. They put poison in his drink.
Down the hatch.
Yeah.
And it's not that he was like...
And it wasn't like the only time. There were like other times when he tried to poison some bread, and a crow flew down and snatched the bread right out of his hand.
Now, normally, you're like... damn bird stole my bread. But in this case, blessed bird stole my bread.
Yes. And like the snake handlers, who I feel like that's just really tempting God.
I was born a snake handler and I'll die a snake handler.
He was just living his life at,
Yeah. He wasn't like, I will now eat this poisoned bread to show I can survive. No, he's just like, oh, I'm going to have some nosh.
I'll put some unicorn powder in it. That's
Believe you mean
not...
iocane?
No. In medieval Europe, they thought the unicorn horn cured poison. So there was a number of things with unicorn horn that's actually, by and large, narwhal tooth.
Which is also why, if you were super fancy, you might have like a unicorn horn chalice, because then anything you put in there couldn't harm you.
Mm-hmm.
Challenge accepted.
Again, narwhal tooth. No magical powers, other than being awesome.
Next on the list?
I mean, maybe the how porous is would somewhat help, depending on, what it is, but, minimal effect.
Next on the list.
Next on the list, super strength, Saint Boniface.
And his cutting down of Thor's tree?
Yes. Lived in a town where a whole bunch of people were worshiping a tree that had been used by pagans as
it was sacred to Thor.
It was sacred to Thor. And so he just comes along and he says, well, if clearly this tree is the problem, gets an axe, and with one single swing, which
like
anybody who's tried to go and cut down even a small tree with an axe,
even a sapling, that takes 2 hits.
That's not a one-hit wonder kind of a thing.
This was a tree that had been around long enough for the pagans to be worshipping it.
Yeah, they believed it had been planted by the gods.
Boom.
Hits it one time, the whole tree goes down. Because that's how powerful his God was. It's sort of like the one with Elijah up on the mountain with all the priests of Baal.
Mm-hmm. See, I was going to assume you were going to point out how technically the heroes and patriarchs of the Old Testament are considered saints. And therefore, Samson is like the de facto superpower.
Samson's a perfect example of this.
Mm-hmm. As long as he had long hair, ironically, like Thor.
God, just give me strength one more time. Mm-hmm. Just this one time.
He had been arrogant. He had disobeyed everything he was supposed to do. But finally, humbled by his blindness, he still managed with one last great thrust to kill 3,000 Philistines.
2 hands, 2 pillars.
Those guys are jerks.
2 hands, 2 pillars, and a whole lot of dead bad guys.
Boom.
Plus, he couldn't see, and his great weakness was that he thought Philistine women were hot.
Well,
I mean, I've never met a Philistine woman, so I can't say for certain whether or not he was wrong or right about that.
Hey there, Delilah.
Moving on.
But sometimes we are called to baptize things. Mm-hmm. Like, there are lots of pagan temples that became Christian churches.
Yeah.
Boniface shows us sometimes you just have to get rid of this stuff. Because this tree could not be redeemed. Leading the people away from God, it had to go.
Non-Christian celebrations that if you just tweak them a little bit, they're suddenly entirely in good keeping with Christian morals and beliefs.
Baptize whatever is good.
Burn the rest.
It's
unless they're people. Unless they're people. Don't burn people. People have an opportunity to repent.
People are also much more good than any purely material object.
And they don't burn well.
No.
That's just lack of effort.
It takes a lot of materials.
It's very inefficient.
True, they are not
We're
themselves.
mostly liquid.
We are 70% water by weight, yeah.
All right, moving on. We have prophecy. And our saint for this is St. Anthony Mary Claret.
There's a lot of ones you could pick, but given our previous discussion, I'm just imagining the X-Men now. In Phoenix, when she becomes Dark Phoenix.
I don't entirely recall the story that I read about this one, so I apologize.
Well, he's just a good holy man. Left Spain, spent a lot of time in, I think, Cuba. Just trying to bring people to God. And apparently, you can see the future.
Yeah, it appears to be the case.
It is a greater power than St. Clair, who could see into the next room.
Give this episode a like, subscribe to our channel to be notified the next time a plot is uploaded.
And until next time, remember to live your faith.
Love your faith.
And share that love.